Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Omega Insight. Tonight's topic is non-shareable energy. I want to just take a moment and talk about the difference between shareable and non-shareable energy. Now, many people believe that a healthy relationship is to share, and I would agree with that. It's about sharing. Unfortunately, what we don't understand is most of the sharing that we do is non-shareable. So we can share about our day, and we share our love and our affection naturally, but we can share about our day, our struggles, our victories. We share about our feelings and our thoughts. We share our souls, let's say. We share a common goal. We share hobbies. I mean, there's so much out there that we understand. We know that's what makes relationships work, is when we're sharing energy. But when I go back to the idea of the non-shareable energy, this surprises people. Well, if we think about shareable energy, it's energy that flows between you and another individual. It's an open flow. Both people involved in the conversation, both people involved in the sharing, receive something. Both of you are benefactors, whether it's you in a large group, you in just one-on-one, but it's the two parties are beneficial. Everyone walks away with something, feeling good, feeling connected, feeling perhaps on another deeper level, inspired, etc. So it's a flow. It's a two-way conversation, two-way energy exchange. That's what it really is, a two-way energy exchange. If you've ever experienced being around people with when the laughter is contagious, one person starts laughing and then you giggle, and then you giggle because they're giggling and they giggle because you giggle, and before you know it, it's building momentum. That's shareable energy. It's going back and forth and back and forth, and it's shareable energy. Great example of what it's like to have shareable energy. Well, if that is true, then what is non-shareable energy? Well, if we go with the definition that it's a two-way conversation, then non-shareable would be just a one-way energy flow. So instead of a two-way flow, there's a one-way flow. And most of the time when it's a non-shareable energy, it's one person expressing to another individual. And there's not a receptive, it's not receiving, it's just here. It's kind of like being dumped on, I guess would be one way to explain it. So when it comes to a non-shareable energy, it's one person who has the agenda. One person who's got the conversation going, one person who's in control, one person who always has all the solutions, always has all the answers. If you've ever had an individual or conversation with someone, it kind of starts something like, oh, hey, how was your day? And as you answer, they interrupt, oh, yes, I had something similar like that, and off they go. And they start talking about themselves, and you were in the middle of a conversation. And sometimes we feel like saying, as I was saying, we don't, because sometimes the point is lost. Non-shareable energy could also be like people who feel courteous. How was your day? Especially on Zoom meetings. How was your day? And as you're talking, they are looking down, typing out an email, or doing a chat, or responding to their phone, their text messages. They're not listening. That is non-shareable energy. Now, at one point or another in our lives, we've all been held accountable to this, where we do not share energy. It's one way. It's non-shareable energy. If you've ever listened to a child tell a story, and they've got your attention, and they're so excited because they've got your attention. Look at me, and then you finally pay attention. My next door neighbor, she's so cute, Miss Anne Marie is what she calls me. She'll go, excuse me, Miss Anne Marie, and when I finally turn and talk to her instead of talking to her mom, she'll just start, and she'll forget what she wanted to say, but she'll just fill it with something, and I can tell she's just looking for something to say. And as I look at her, she gets more and more excited and will tell more and more a story, even though it doesn't follow any sense. And then as I start to look away, she'll start something else, and then something else, because as a child she understands. She's got that attention and she feels important. Now there's nothing wrong with this. Obviously, this is what we want to teach our children. They are important and they have a right to have a voice and speak up. Absolutely, 100%. What we have to be careful of is not to teach or instill the habit of interrupting to gain someone's attention. we must transition from interruption, like acknowledging a life, and making a contribution. That's the distinction. But that's, down the road. So the idea is we want to make sure we don't want to turn into an attention seeker. Because an attention seeker is one way, non-shareable energy. They're looking for what they can get from you. That's what a non-shareable energy is. What can I get from you? How much energy can I take from you? Energy vampires are really good at this. They make you feel so important, but it's all about giving their attention to them. I will just say right that there. I have a issue, let's say, something that frustrates me is when I see parents where their children are talking to them and the parents aren't paying attention. This is the parents. They're not even speaking. There's some very funny commercials on TV too that allude to the same thing. The idea that when someone's talking and you're not listening, that's non-shareable energy as well. That's unfortunate when that occurs. I want to take a moment also and talk about, an electrician can tell you that when a fuse blows, it means that the circuit breaker stops the energy running through because there's too much coming at it, and it doesn't want to damage the circuit, so it blows the fuse. That's really what a blown fuse is. And sometimes we, as human beings, our fuses blow. We're like, wah! This can happen when we experience non-shareable energy. Too much is coming at us, and we are on overload, so we just go, blah, I can't take it anymore. And sometimes this happens, if you've had conversations with people, the lecturers, if you've ever had the lecture, somebody will go on and on. I mean, you get it already, but they go on, and they're only talking for themselves, not for you. That's hard to be around if you don't ground yourself. I mean, there's certain things you can do, techniques you can do when it comes to shareable and non-shareable energy, to protect yourself from non-shareable energy. To talk at people is non-shareable energy. There's a difference between talking with someone and talking at someone. Again, the energy, the intention is to control the energy, to control the process, to control everything here. It's like not pure energy. I would say maybe the energy is tainted. It's not pure. It's just one way. Let me give you 5 characteristics of non-shareable energy. Selfishness is the first one. Selfishness is if you're a cook and you're preparing a meal, you only make the stuff you like and don't consider anyone else. That's non-shareable energy. Now, an interesting thing has evolved throughout the years. When I grew up, you ate what was put in front of you. Nowadays, we find out what people want, and we go out of our way to try to make something so that everybody will eat something at the table, and there's no blah. That's something that we've adjusted to, and it's really not a big deal. My husband and I last night, we're cooking. I'm making something that I want. He's making something he wants, but we're in the kitchen together, cooking together, just not the same thing, identical thing. So anyway, that's selfishness. Selfishness is when it's all about me and nothing to do with you. I'm looking for compliments, I'm looking for the attention, I'm looking for the praise. That's selfishness. Number 2, the second thing, jealousy. Jealousy, a jealous individual cannot tolerate anyone else receiving energy, cannot tolerate it. I've been around people where if you're talking to another person and they're talking and you're trying to maintain the conversation, and if you turn and ask the other individual, that one person will interrupt and draw the attention back to them. That is a jealous individual. They cannot stand that somebody else has got the attention. And they want to draw people back to them. The third thing is manipulation. When it comes to manipulation, we have an intention to manipulate the conversations. As I said, you can, oh, how are you? And they wait for something that they can connect with, and then off they go. Oh, that's happened to me, and then tell the story. Off they go. So they're manipulating the conversation to give you the appearance that you're involved in a conversation, but you're really not. This has happened to me many of times when I'll be interrupted and I'll sit there and I'll wait, and I almost feel like saying, as I was saying, because it was like, you clearly interrupted me, but I don't do that. Greed is actually the basis for manipulation. They want the attention. They need it. They need it. So it's not jealous that somebody else has got it. It's that they want it. That's manipulation. And then I'm going to go to interruption. That's the fourth characteristics of non-shareable energy. As a conversation is in progress, if the speaker is continuously interrupted by the listener is displaying non-shareable energy. The interruption breaks the flow of the speaker. Every time you interrupt, you're breaking the flow. And I kind of think about this like, if it's a flow of energy, like a river, let's say, and every time you're interrupted, it stops that flow of energy and it distracts it. So the water leaks off and leaks off and leaks off, and when you finally get to the person that you're speaking to, there's really not that much energy left. So that would be an interruption. Now, there's many reasons why we interrupt. That's an entirely different workshop. But consider, if you are an interrupter, why do you interrupt? What is it about the interruption? Do you need to be right? Do you want to correct somebody? Do you want to make sure your point is heard before the other person gets to finish? Are you jumping to a conclusion? All of those are non-shareable energy. If we understood shareable energy, we would let the person finish speaking and then say to them, I'm not certain the facts are correct. Here's what I understood it to be. And then that would join in the conversation. And finally, the fifth one is vanity. Have you ever begun a story and before you're finished, the listener jumps in and begins to tell you a story about themselves, which I've already said this. That's what vanity is. So they ask you the question and off they go, they talk about themselves. Well, that could be ego, connected to the ego, which is also a characteristic of non-shareable energy. But they're redirecting the conversation to themselves. So we have selfishness, jealousy, manipulation, interruption, and vanity. Those are the top 5 characteristics of non-shareable energy. Now, if you discover that this is something that you do, then you've got great work. That's wonderful. Hey, now I'm aware of this. Then we start learning how to do active listening and participate in shareable energy with an individual. If you have people in your life who do the non-shareable energy, there are things that you can do. There's ways that you can, I want to say protect yourself, but it can be violent at times. But there are ways that you can ground yourself. There's the grounding techniques. Everyone knows common grounding techniques. Place your feet on the floor, breathe in and exhale, do your breathing. One really simple trick I was taught was peripheral vision. So if you're looking straight ahead, but then focus your eyes on your peripheral vision, so your attention is now out here, not at the person. And what's so incredible, I have done this and it works. What happens is with the peripheral vision, because I'm not giving the speaker my attention, they end up getting exhausted because they don't have any energy that they're feeding off of. It's a very simple way to not deplete yourself. Another thing that I was taught is instead of looking into eye contact, look at the bridge of the nose. Just look at the bridge of the nose. It looks like you're looking at them, but you focus your attention on that, your attention and your energy on that, and you will not be depleted. And then, of course, just be mindful. If you have people in your life that do not share or have non-shareable energy, be mindful of how much attention you give them. Maybe give them feedback. Have a conversation, or maybe they're not important enough to stay in your life, so you don't need to get involved in the conversation. I know I have a tendency to get quiet, that if I'm around a non-shareable energy, I don't really say much. And I choose my words, which conserves my energy. I attempt to take the position of being an observer, which would be a good position for you to do as well. So that's my topic on non-shareable energy. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. I look forward to seeing you on Friday. I'm going to attempt to do a coffee talk on Friday, and then see you next week. Have a wonderful evening, and of course, thank you again for keeping the spirit of Omega alive. Bye now.